Blueprints are foundations of a building to guide architects and contractors to build a structure. I'm no architect or contractor, but for this art project, getting these down will help me make sure I'm on the right track on the next steps in the project. Hey there, my name is Naveng and welcome to this video. The plan for this project is to create a blacksmith shop that sells armors and weapons to adventurers in a fantasy setting, whether it's for D&D, Pathfinder, or some other fantasy setting. I plan for the shop to have at least 3 floors, and here we're seeing me work on the first floor. On the first floor, I want the forge area where customers can view the craftsmen working from either inside the shop or outside the building. The forge area also has an open back to be able to head to the back of the store where it has a basement access to store any additional works. The shop has some walls to display the crafts and some display shelves on the sales floor. There's an extended window coming out from the shop area to have some big piece armor and weapons on displays to entice customers to come shop at the armory. As I design through this, I have to keep in mind where the people, not just customers, but the craftsmen and salespeople walk. There has to be enough logical room for the salespersons to walk out from behind the counter onto the sales floor, enough room for a prospective customer to walk the sales floor, and with the idea of a customer-accessible forge, there has to be room there for a few folks to watch and work at the same time. The specifics of the forge area aren't really put down yet, but small symbolism and text lets me know what should go into the area. As I start a new layer and trace out the first floor for the second floor, I have to think about how the stairs are going to work, as I'm not too confident I'm going to be getting it right. I spent a bit extra time on creating a small staircase diorama to get an understanding of how it's going to work going into the second floor. The second floor is going to be an administration floor. I want this to have a records room and the business office for the proprietor of the store. I initially planned to have an indoor balcony that the proprietor can look down into the forge from the second level. The workers know that they can be watched by the proprietor at any time, giving the proprietor some semblance of control. The staircase to the third floor was initially planned to be further in the back corner above the path from the forge to the back of the store. This will give that area on the first floor a bit of character. The main business office is to be larger than the records room, as the proprietor doesn't want anyone having a larger room than them. I placed some furniture down to give myself an idea of how the movement in the room is going to work. I want there to be some tension between the door and the desk while a potential customer walks in to do business. After a bit of thought or taking a break, I decided against the indoor balcony and moved on to another idea. I'm having trouble at this time of how I want to proceed, so I begin with a profile view of the building. This is to help me keep track of the exterior of the building as I continue to add and polish the floor plan of the shop. In the profile view, I shifted forward the forge chimney as it didn't land where it's supposed to be in the floor plan. An idea I do want to keep is to have a roof over the forge to back area. I want the records room to feel cramped, so the furniture I put in there is closer together compared to the main office. Alongside the cramped feeling, I imagine the person working in this small cramped room to be large to make the space a bit more claustrophobic. Since this is a fantasy world, the idea of the records room can theoretically span into the infinite in this small area I've placed it. I imagine the proprietor has countless amounts of records from all the deals they have made and currently making. While placing rooms on the second floor, I know the proprietor doesn't want anyone going beyond their office, so I had to rearrange the first floor staircase. I want the office to be the last place a customer would go to with permission. Why would a customer go beyond the office if they weren't up to no good? The thought process for the records room on this new floor layout applies here as well. Small, cramped, a larger worker, and the possibility to extend into the infinite. For the remaining space, I chose to go with a waiting room. This room only houses a single couch for the prospective customer to sit, a few plants, and behind the couch, a large vanity portrait of the proprietor. The idea of the indoor balcony is replicated with this large vanity piece looking down on the customer as they wait. This waiting room is there to increase the tension between the customer and the proprietor, as the walk from the door entrance to the desk got significantly reduced. With the rearranged second floor, the rounded portion of the floor became an attached balcony. This way, the proprietor can enjoy a nice day near the office or watch the crowd below as they move throughout their day. As the floor is finalizing, I take the time to update the profile view to include the second floor. I include the updates on the first floor layer as well. The forbidden third floor is a personal living space for the proprietor. Living on the top floor is there to invoke the same feeling as a rich person living in a penthouse on a large building. High enough to enjoy the view of the city, and high enough to look down on the folks walking by minding their own business. As I tell the little tidbits of the proprietor, I'm hoping I'm painting a picture of who I think this person is. All business, vain, and full of themselves. Since this is an art project, I try to think about these things when designing characters or spaces. As I work on the third floor, I knew he wasn't sticking with me. The only part that did was the second floor balcony connecting with the third floor balcony. The third floor took a bit more effort in designing the space. I didn't want box rooms of the lower two floors and had a bit of a hard time trying to figure out how I wanted the space to be filled. I know the proprietor wants a large bathroom to be able to fill a luxurious tub for medical reasons. As I worked through, I wasn't able to figure out laying things out for the third floor in this point of the process, so I moved on to the basement, which I knew only had a few things. The basement is an area to support the shop and forge level. The staircase is wide enough to be able to move containers up and down. A large room for storage of materials. Finished crafted weapons and armors are stored here as well. In the back of the basement houses two rooms. The northern room is for enchanting weapons and armor. Even though I haven't laid any potential furniture for this room, I plan there to at least be an enchanting table or altar of sorts with supporting shelves around the room. The shelves are to be filled with magical tomes and reagents to assist the enchanter in their work. The southern room is the vault. Here, highly dangerous or highly prized items will wait. I imagine the proprietor isn't a collector of items, but one who often trades or sells these to people. A weapon is meant to be used and armor is meant to be worn. Sitting in a collection is hardly the best use of either. I return back to the third floor to continue to try to execute the no-box rooms for this floor. One of the corners of the third floor balcony piques my interest, and I extend a wall from that corner. The final shape of this additional room is a bit more interesting than just a box room. This idea transfers across the room as a walk-in closet for the proprietor. Since this is a walk-in closet, being connected to the bathroom would make sense as well. With a bit of extension, the lavish bathtub that rises up a few steps can be implemented in the design of the floor. The extra room by the third floor balcony is then furnished to be a personal office for the proprietor. With an additional few rooms added to the side profile, I returned to the second floor to redraw in the wreckage room. I removed it at first as I believed plumbing would take an important part of the layout. I know this is a fantasy world, but I couldn't imagine a world without it, especially in a city. After some consideration, I could put the plumbing in the walls with it being thicker on that side. I draw a few additional items, labeling and updating the profile view. With the plumbing thought in my mind at the time, I include an outhouse for the first floor workers. With these final touches, I can say that the blueprint phase of the blacksmith shop has come to a close. What follows are the completed images. This is just the first step in this project. I hope to move on to the next step, which is to extrude these rooms upwards and begin the designing the floors in 3D. Thanks for joining me on this as I talk through my drawing process and the thoughts that go into my design process. On top of the room designs, I plan to include drawings of the proprietor and their crew of workers. Who do you think the proprietor is? What is their workforce like? If you want to find out, please hit that subscribe button. Also leave a like and a comment, and I hope you'll continue with me on this journey, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.